Why, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Josie Dumont podcast, hosted by me, Josie. And today I am joined by Emily Taylor, who is the founder of the Portal of Receiving Philosophy of Life and Business, or in other words, hashtag POR. With her background in teaching and master's in philosophical research, she teaches her clients how to receive more money whilst doing less, which is exactly what we would I can't talk, which is exactly what we will be diving into today. And I'm so stoked, Emily, to finally have you here.
I am so excited.
Me too. Oh my gosh, I literally can't wait. And to kick it off, I want to know what has been your own journey in how you got to where you are today, doing what you are doing today.
What a big question.
Right?
Where to even start on this journey? A lot of people, they tend to ask me like, what were the origins of, POR, which is a huge part of my brand and my philosophy of life myself. And it's really hard to pinpoint the simple fact
Hmm.
or when it all happened on my journey. But the reason why I'm in business and the reason why I teach the way I do is because I was a huge perfectionist. Like I really think that was the origins of my story and of my business, where as I'm even speaking, I've got shivers all around my chin, around my face, because I was the girl who overworked. I was the girl who overworked and I got A stars across the board in my A levels, had no life, no mental health, like body image down the drain. And what I realized is I didn't feel like I had received at all. Like I really hadn't. Like you think that when you really work and work and work for an outcome and that outcome arrives that you'll feel elated. And I feel like a lot of millionaires even feel this when they've worked with the wrong intention. They don't even feel elated or neutral when the outcome arrives. They just feel like dog shit, basically. And that's exactly what I experienced. And I thought, what, this doesn't make sense. Like society tells us to work hard to do our best to achieve. And I've done that. Like I couldn't have given more. And I got A star, A star, A star. Like, why am I not happy?
Hmm.
And that was when I was around 18, which I'm now like really sad for that version of myself that had to go through that and think like that. Because she was so self-punishing. Like I've always been someone who will work and I don't mind hard work. Like that's never been a problem for me. But the fact is I probably felt like I didn't deserve a life outside of that or deserve happiness outside of that. And yeah, the result meant nothing to me. So since then, I've been on a huge journey of eliminating perfectionism, which I don't even identify as perfectionist anymore, to be honest. And people pleasing as well, and coming back to who I am, a massive journey of coming back to who I am. And I don't think many people know that that's like the origins of my business, but it really, really is because we all come from somewhere. And for me, that was my like the start of my journey back to who I am.
And how was it going through this transformation? Because it is quite a big shift of feeling like, as you said, like you didn't deserve happiness. And I feel like that's a really big thing, especially at such a young age. 18 is, it's not that old, right? And going basically into the world of work or world of business and being like an adult now, grown up, and feeling like you don't deserve happiness, like that to me sounds scary. And I was in a similar place too when I was 16. So I'm just like curious, how was this transformation for you to get to you to a place where you can say like, I am happy now?
That's such a good question. So a bit of a, I don't know, the process that happened after, before the deconditioning from my basically ridiculously high self-expectation, the deconditioning process led me to take a gap year after my A levels and not do the societal thing of going to uni straight away. Because it would have made sense on paper to go and even continue working with
Yeah.
the best I had and all the things. And I remember it actually got worse before it got better. And I know a lot of listeners probably don't want to hear that, but it really did, because when you're so hyper focused on something because you're basing your entire self-worth on that thing, and then you release that thing, your brain will try and find other things to cling on to cultivate that self-worth. And it was like going from something to nothing, and your brain is not ready for that, your body's not ready for that. So I felt like after that point I entered like a black hole, basically, of like, who am I actually remember that feeling, and I never had a diagnosis of any kind. I never had like anyone saying anything to me. No one understood at the time. And even like when I was that age, no one understood, like no one was using the words anxiety and depression, which is strange to me now because it's thrown around and
Yeah.
I would have liked to have known that it could have been that. So yeah, I think I hit rock bottom before I realized like I need some kind of stability, but I don't want the stability that leads me to go into overachieving mode again. Um, but my journey back to self really started with going to uni, which was strange because that's more of a studious place. You'd think I would have got re-triggered into overworking. But I remember the first night I went to uni, I met all these people and I was like, oh my God, like I want to have fun again. Like I can't make
Yeah.
my whole life dependent on my achievements. And everything like fell into place. It felt like the universe had my back, honestly. Like it was like the university had been chosen for me. It wasn't one of those top ones, even though I had top grades. I went for one that was the balance that I needed. And the first night I got on a chair with my mop or something and sang
Mhm.
Bohemian Rhapsody. And I was like, oh my God, like I haven't felt this way in so long. And I realized I'm going to settle for less. Like I remember that moment happening, getting shivers again, of like, I'm willing to settle for less in terms of the outcomes that I want if it means being happy. And from that moment on, like there was this like domino effect of I'll go for the less, even if it takes me longer to achieve what it is I want for my life, because I need to cultivate this self-worth without all of these outcomes. And yeah, that's people. It was experiences that got
Yeah.
me out of this awful headspace, basically.
Oh my gosh, Emily, I love that so much. Like going for what makes you happy, even if it means at first maybe less, because I feel like in the end, like that's what we all work towards to anyway, right? We want to be happy at the end of our lives when we're like 90 old and gray on our deathbed and we look back, we want to look back at a happy life.
Yeah.
We don't want to look back at a miserable life full of regret or like things where we're just like we're stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, and all of that stuff. We just want to be happy in
Hmm.
its truest essence. So I'm just like so stoked for you that you obviously managed to make that shift. But it also opens for me the question, what do you see also in your clients might be like the major factor in what's holding them back from receiving that happiness and to create like that shift in their life and create also that space in their lives to allow themselves to receive more?
Mm. I think there is this really it's even a trend. Like there's this growing trend and norm, especially in the coaching industry, that we will live our lives once we hit a certain milestone.
Mm.
So we'll like hustle now and then reap the rewards. So we don't inject space and happiness into not even business, into life itself. We treat the businesses first, life is secondary. We're saying, I'll make this sacrifice, I'll make these sacrifices now so that I don't have to. And I said it for a long time, till I have a baby, till I'm a mother. Why am I waiting till I'm a mother when I'm actually then providing a life, like, and I'm going to have to give to a life to
Yeah.
actually live the life that my business was always meant to create. And I think we've really got trapped in that. So I think that's the trend. And that's what I see across the board with clients as well of like, well, I'm in launch, so I'll live once the launch is over. When actually, if you're to live intentionally during the launch, you will receive a fuck ton more. Like if you plan life into your launch and you don't wait for the next milestone to be happy, you will make more money anyway because you remove attachment. And attachment, not only does it cause suffering, but it doesn't make you a lot of money because you're so hyperfixated on the outcome. It doesn't work. So that's what I think really needs to go in the bin is I'm building a life through my business even. That needs to go in the bin. You are building a life and a business. Why do they have to be yes, they're so connected. It's so true. But if you I want to know, like I want to know, can people take a week off from business and feel worthy without it, without the results? And I'm not saying if they take like time out, they won't receive results. You will. But do you feel enough of a person without the business?
Mm.
Even when it's your purpose, even when it's your purpose, can you go out and be happy and have like not even just one, multiple identities outside of your business and be happy? Because if you can't, you can create all the money you want, but you end up dissatisfied, just like past Emily, who got A stars and felt like dog shit. I just don't want that for people because it happens. It really does happen a lot.
It is so true. And that really goes into this all or nothing mentality where you're like, I either sacrifice all my life to create the business or I sacrifice anything business related to live my life. Like it's almost just
Yeah.
like this black and white thinking and totally ignoring all the 50 shades of gray that are like in between, right?
It's so true. And this is where I really struggle to find my place in the industry because yes, I coach on business. Yes, I teach strategy. And yes, I heal people's relationship with receiving and money mindset and receiving that goes deeper than money. And I was on a retreat earlier this month. This month has felt like an absolute year within a month. I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like it's been
Yeah.
so much in September. And I was on this retreat and I really went with the question of who am I in this industry? Am I meant to be this strategist or am I meant to be this like woo woo, you can receive when you lean back? And I was like, fuck this. Like I am both. But I only got to that point with the tarot card that literally told me that word
Yeah.
for word.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was like, you're meant to like unite the feminine and masculine for other people to cultivate that balance and all those things. And I was like, here we go. Like it's not like spending all your time in nature and never selling and then receiving, but it's also not hustling and never living life. Like why does it have to be, and this is where I was a bit blocked. I was like, am I on this like spiritual end of the coaching industry and the business coaching industry? Am I like feminine embodiment side or am I like hustlers? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like straight in the middle. I'm like forging my own
Same.
path because I'm yeah, and it's a weird place to be, like being in
Mm-hmm.
your own. It's so weird, but it works.
It really is weird. And I mean, I talked about that in the obviously guest expert session I did for you because I was like, I'm not a full on like soft or moss girl even where they're just like
Yeah.
laying in nature, hugging trees and not doing anything. I'm like, I can't relate to that. Like I wanna do some work, but I also can't relate to 24/7 constant hustle and just being like working myself to the ground. Like, where is the golden middle? Like, where is the sweet spot? And I feel like, again, it goes into this either or, nothing or everything kind of like mentality. And kind of like what I want to ask you as well is with the portal of receiving, how do
Mm.
we activate? What would be like your first step into getting rid of this mentality, stepping into the portal of receiving and taking this very first small step or big step, whatever it might be, to just changing all of that?
Okay. I would start with a question. And I like to use thought experiments because philosophers typically use thought experiments because they're not realities yet, but they could be. And it allows us to figure out how comfortable or a scale of comfortability that we sit on when it comes to different scenarios in
Mm-hmm.
business. So for anyone listening, I want you to imagine you are receiving the most money you ever have whilst doing the least. And when I say doing the least, I don't mean not doing, I mean doing intentionally. So it may mean you've outsourced the things that you don't want to do. I hear that so much in clients, like, I don't want to do that. Well, outsource it then, because in a way, this does need to be done to get you to that point where that result is in your life. But it doesn't mean you're the one that has to do it. But what I really want everyone to get curious about is like if you spent 4 hours in the morning reading your book and then you did some bits and bobs in business and then maybe you had one call and then you went out in nature again and then you received 6 grand, how comfortable would you feel in knowing that's landed in your account whilst you've done what you may be perceived to be the bare minimum? Because the problem is not how much you received, it's the
Mm.
fact that we can no longer use the words I earned this as a crutch, because earning suggests you had to, what's an equivalent word of earning? You had to give something up.
Deserve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like deserve is a better, I think, such a better word for earning, but I would really get inquisitive about what you think you ought to do and the conditions you
Mhm.
place on yourself that make you deserving of earning the most. Because if you feel like you constantly have to exchange your time and make sacrifices and put in more work to earn that money, you'll always be doing more. But you're saying to me, you want to build a life where you can live. Well, that's not how you're not going to get there that way. And so if you want to be embodying the POR philosophy, it's like, well, what's the path of least resistance here? How can I do this more intentionally? How can I do this more in a streamlined way? And it's not without the masculine. It's systemizing, it's outsourcing, it's having difficult conversations with your clients so they don't overstep your boundaries. It's maybe price increases. It's maybe taking on less clients paying you more. So it's not easy decisions, but it creates long-term ease. And so, yeah, I would look at how much do you feel comfortable receiving without having to do more to receive it? That's the question I would start with.
Oh, I love that question. I feel like this is really the perfect starting point because it just opens up one's mindset to these other areas and really takes one away from it's either this or the other thing.
Definitely. And I had this conversation with, I think it was in the quantum receiving program that I've been
Hmm.
running. few weeks of maybe you're very used to making investments in your business. Maybe you're very good at, paying flow desk, etc. But what if I told you you could get a cleaner for like £30 a week, which frees up so much more time, which means you don't have to do that before or after your business hours or when you're at part-time work, whatever you do. How deserving do you feel of people taking things off your plate? Because it's really not the money you're investing, it's what that represents to you. And everything that you invest in yourself represents the extent to which you feel deserving of receiving that time back, that space back. And so money is just one frequency, but really when you look at all the ways you can receive, asking for help, asking a friend, speaking to your mentor even, like, can be really difficult for people because you're asking for help, you're asking to be held in space. And it's really interesting how hiring a cleaner or even a private
Yeah.
chef or whatever it is so much of an edge for people. And sometimes more so than investing in the business because it represents what you no longer have to do anymore, that
Mm.
you've placed on yourself as an expectation, not as something you want to do, something you place as an expectation when really you probably have the money to outsource that.
That is so true. And actually, you were the one who kind of like put this idea of getting a cleaner into my head. I've been braining about it for a while now. I was like, oh, maybe just once a week. Like they can just come in, like hoover the house and maybe clean the kitchen and the bathroom and it would just be done. It would be so
Yeah.
nice. So for me, I think that will be next on my receiving list. But I'm curious, what has been on your receiving list that you are so happy that you just called into your life lately?
Oh, that's a good question because there's so many things. There's always so many things.
Hmm.
Things that are like, I guess, more normal in my life now are things like my partner and I went out for an Indian meal the other day and it was completely
Yum.
paid for by his client. So it was one of those things where like, well, you couldn't have even like imagined random Friday night going out and that being paid for. So that was fun. But I think the biggest one that means a lot to me is the retreat I just went on because
Mm.
it's the first time in I'd say 3 years that I put four figures into something that wasn't business related. And it really was quite scary because although it's not the most money I've ever invested, it's what it represented. It was that time off, it was switching off the space, all the conversations I received on that retreat. And what was so interesting when I said to myself, I'm going to go, I said to myself, I'm only energetically available for going if my business pays for this on top of what it already brings in. So I like pushed
Nice.
my glass ceiling. Yeah, I was like, I have to push this glass ceiling. Like, I'm not just going to be like, yeah, my business will pay for this. And I trust the process, right? Because that would be like too feminine in a way. It's too on the feminine crutch.
Hmm.
I was like, I am only energetically available for that extra money arriving through the business. And that week, and I put it off a little bit for like 3, 4, 5 days. I put off making the first deposit, like the first installment. My business generated just over that amount of that first installment that week, through the quantum receiving program actually. And I was like,
Hmm.
wow, it's a quick bit of evidence. So it was nice because the retreat meant so much to me, but I also the business has paid for it ever since. And so it was nice evidence that everything you release money into when you feel deserving of that and the results on the other side of it, the universe is always bringing back to you, but it's whether you feel deserving of that that plays that key role.
That is so, so, so true. And I feel like just the deserving part and feeling worthy part could be a podcast episode in itself. Maybe you need to
Definitely.
come back, Emily. Maybe you need to come back and we can talk about that
Maybe.
as well.
Yeah.
Because we're now coming to the last segment of the show, which is the fire round of questions. So before we do so, please tell me a number between 1 and 10.
7.
7. Lucky number for most of the people who I asked
Yeah.
this question to. So yeah, I will be asking you 7 questions that you can answer with a short sentence or one word, or just
Okay.
your way.
Okay.
Any way goes. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, what is the Emily way of living and leading your best life?
Being and doing.
I, I love it. Okay, when shit hits the fan, what do you tell yourself to get through it?
I can handle this.
What is your key habit for success?
No 5 a.m. starts.
I mean, I'm a 5 a.m. girly, but I still love it because I'm like, no, you do not need to get up at 5 a.m. to have like
But
the most
you
successful day.
can.
You
You
can.
can. You don't
You
have
can.
to.
You don't have to. Exactly. Okay. What is your favorite book that you would recommend to everyone?
At the moment, Chill and Prosper, Denise Duffield Thomas. Oh my God.
You
Yes.
mentioned that in the program. I noted that down. I still
Yeah.
need to order it.
It's life transformational in so many ways, and I can't stop talking about it, and I never will.
Love it. Love it. What is a word or expression that you say all the time?
Hmm. POR.
Yes. Do you
To
know,
be honest.
I was actually thinking about this answer for you in my head, and I was like, it's either POR or it goes into the bin.
Yeah. Did I say that a lot? Do I say that a lot? Do I?
Yes, yes. I think you said it also like twice in this podcast.
No, I didn't. Did
Yeah,
I?
yeah, you did.
I'm learning stuff
And
about
like in
me.
your emails, I see that a lot too. So that kind of like just sticks with me. And I'm like, okay, it must be either one of those.
I love that. I've learned something about myself. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What is the theme song of your life or your current season?
Hmm. Okay, this is going to be a longer answer. I'm going to go with Karma by Taylor Swift because in
Mm.
Buddhist philosophy, karma is merely the law of cause and effect. It isn't bad people will have punishment and good people will get good things. Like, yeah, to some extent, it's merely cause and effects. And I really live that. Like the outcomes are a product of the causes. And when you really look at your life through that lens, it really helps things because all the suffering, you can do most of it, you can do something about, maybe not all, most. And all the good things, including business results, you can do something about. And when you realize that, everything's fucking great. And
Yes.
to add a bit more to that, other people's causes and effects are different to your causes and effects. We often think that our cause leads to their effect or their cause leads to our effect. Stay in your own lane, forge your own path, cause and effect. Karma, Taylor Swift. We'll go with that one.
Oh, I like it. What a good answer. Okay, last question. If you wouldn't be doing what you are doing now, what would you be doing in an alternate universe as a job?
It would be helping people and most likely teaching philosophy.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
I nearly took that course of action. I
Yeah.
looked, yeah, and the universe was like, no, it's not her time. So I diverted straight into the business.
Hmm.
So it would be teaching religious studies, GCSE and A level, most likely.
I like that. That is so cool.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Emily, for like just coming on here today, for sharing your POR wisdom with us today. Where can people find you? Where can they get in touch with you, work with you, all the good stuff?
Okay, so best place is Instagram. My name is I am Emily Jane Taylor, Jane. We are actually hosting our first receiving retreat, which I can't even believe I'm saying. It feels really surreal to say that. In Sri Lanka next year.
Oh my
And when
God.
I say yeah, Sri Lanka of like
I
all
love
places,
Sri Lanka. It's so
literally
good.
exotic location, honestly. So that's in November, and we've got a wait list right now. So if you are interested in joining us, definitely reach out because people are lapping up the information about this retreat because it's so POR focused and it's really gonna, I don't like the word force, but it forces you into being mode because you're in such an incredible location. We're going to be giving everything to you. You don't need to do anything to earn or be deserving of receiving on this retreat, which is the entire point. So that is probably the best way to work with us in 2025. But other than that, we have a mastermind, a business mastermind coming up in January, who this is for like more established business owners who want to inject space back into their business without sacrificing the money or treating money and space as mutually exclusive. So that would be the perfect offer for someone who wants to work with us in a business sense. But if you're looking to switch off, come on the retreat, that would be a really good option for you.
That does sound like so juicy, especially Sri Lanka. Like it has my heart. I just loved when I was there for like 2 something weeks,
Mm,
especially like the beach areas. Waligama was just so nice. So, oh my gosh, I love that.
yeah,
Um, I
excited.
will I will also put everything into the description box down below, all the links. So do reach out to Emily. She's really a gem to have in your contacts. And it's just almost addictive, like the energy, like the receiving energy you bring across. It's like, give me more, please. Thank you. And I love that. I'm
Yeah,
all there for that. Um,
yeah.
but with that, to everyone, thanks so much for tuning in, for listening or watching if you watched on YouTube. And I shall see you again next week with another episode. Bye.
Bye.